Hello everybody. Now in this video today I'm going to talk about the differences between the Italian schooling system and the British schooling system. Now, as you probably know, I was born in the UK and I did all my schooling in the UK apart from a couple of years at university in Spain. So I've been through this UK schooling system. I'm a product of the UK schooling system. Now I have two daughters here, one who's going on 16 and one who's going on 12, and they are currently in the Italian schooling system. A couple of months ago I was back in the UK in my parents' house and I did a video on the differences between Italy and the UK, or living in the UK. And I think I said that in the grand scheme of things, things are not that different. But I would disagree with the schooling system. I would say that the schooling system is very, very different. So people who are a product of the UK schooling system and people who are a product of the Italian schooling system, I would say they have a different upbringing or different way of thinking. So in this video I'm going to explain to you the differences between the Italian and the UK schooling system. Difference number one, the school structure. The way the school is structured here is different. Here school goes from 6 years old till 19 years old, and in the UK it's from 5 till 18. So the structure of the schools are different. Primary school is the same. The only difference is they start a year later here, so from 6 until 11. Whereas in the UK it's from 5 until 11. Then after primary school in the UK you go straight to high school. Whereas in Italy there's a middle school. So they go to middle school for 3 years. So from when they're 11 till when they're 14 or 15, they do a middle school in Italy, which doesn't exist in the UK. Again, all subjects are studied like in high school in the UK. And then in the UK, obviously, after high school, you go to college, where you only really study 3 or 4 subjects. Whereas in Italy, after middle school, they then go to high school, where they still study most subjects. It's a lot more diversified than the A levels in the UK. So in the UK, you do 3 or 4 A levels, whereas here in Italy, the high school, which lasts for 5 years, so it goes from 14 till 19, they do a lot more subjects. Difference number two. I talked about the structure before, so the structure is different with the middle school. Difference number two are the school times. Now, apart from primary school here, where it starts at 8 and finishes at 3 or 4, the middle school and the high school is basically half day, from 8 till 1 or from 8 till 2, which is just a little bit more than half day. Whereas obviously that's different in the UK. Primary school and high school and college. Well, college is a little bit different, but primary school and high school are all full days, should you say, from 8 until 3 or 4. Now, going back to what I said before about school times, I forgot to mention that at high school here, so the one after middle school, they go to school on a Saturday as well. So that's another thing to take into consideration. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's all high schools that go to school on a Saturday or they're trying it out or whatever. But for example, my wife who went to school in Italy, she went to school on a Saturday as well. So it's quite a common thing for kids to go to school on a Saturday morning. So they make up for the half days they have during the week and they go to school on Saturday morning. It's crap, innit? Now, difference number 3, teaching methods. Now, this is probably the main difference. It's a huge difference. I think it's really, really different. Kids are taught here in a different way. Straight from primary school. They have 2 things in Italy which I'm sure we never had in the UK. Now, when I went to school in the UK more than 25 years ago, and I can remember a lot of it, but I obviously can't remember all of it. So please, in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong. Now, in Italy, they have 2 interrogazioni and verifica, which basically means a test. One is an oral test and the other one is a written test, which happen quite regularly throughout the year, maybe once a week or twice a week. One is an oral test where the teacher will call you up in front of the blackboard or the whiteboard, there's no chalk anymore, and will ask you questions about a given subject. And you have to, off the top of your head, memorise and talk about the subject. Sometimes they don't call you up in front of the whiteboard, sometimes it's done from your school desk. But most of the times you're pulled up in front of the class. And you can't make a meal of it. You have to talk about the subject. And the verificas are written exams, which happen I think less regular than the oral exams, but the written tests that maybe last an hour, where you have to, they're an exam. It's an exam, and all these count towards your end result, which I think differs in the UK, because I'm sure that when I was at school, coursework was maybe a new thing that they'd put in, but 100% of your school result was the end of year exam, which meant you could do nothing throughout the year, go into the exam, pass it with flying colours, and you would come out with 10 out of 10 or an A star or whatever it is. That's not the same in Italy. Coursework and these verificas and interrogations, as they're called, it sounds like you've been captured in the war and they're interrogating you, doesn't it? But that's what it's called. They count a lot to the end year result. Now, difference number 4, teaching methods. Now in Italy it's a lot stricter. The schooling's a lot stricter than it is in the UK. It's a lot, it's more driven around memory. You have to memorise things, dates, and just memorise stuff. Whereas in the UK it's more structured around critical thinking. They appreciate your input more than they do in Italy. It's never wrong or right, or it's less wrong or right. Whereas in Italy, that's the way it is, and that's it. If you were to say something that's sort of out of the box, it's not very appreciated. It's a more formal way of learning and doing stuff. So yeah, it's different. I think that's why kids probably drop out of school in Italy more than the UK. Another thing that they have in Italy is that they have it's called if you don't pass the year, you do the same year, whereas that doesn't happen in the UK. It never happened when I was at school 25 years ago, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't happen now, but it happens quite regularly here in Italy, where kids who don't, I don't know, maybe they're in second year at high school, they don't get the marks or they don't get the grades that are high enough to go forward, and they stay behind. Laggers. So that is different. So yeah, the general teaching method is a lot different, like I said. So as such, kids they drop out of school. Now, one thing that struck me, I wanted to say something, is that I remember when I moved here 25 years ago, almost 22 years ago, was that when people ask you what do you work as, in Italy they say what do you work as, and the answer that you give is your profession, i.e. what you do. So I'm a gardener, or I'm a milkman, or I work in IT. Whereas that struck me, because in the UK, whenever someone asks you what you do as a job, you tell them what position you're in. So I'm a sales manager, or I'm a manager of this, some of that. It's not what you do. It's not. No, I'm not wording that correctly, am I? It's in Italy. When they ask you what you do for a living, you answer what the company does. So say you work for a company that makes bricks. You say I work for a company that makes bricks. You don't tell them what position you're in that company, which I think as well stems from how you're taught at school. Here, kids are taught, a profession at school. There's a lot of studying involved. So if kids go to university and they end up doing history at university, they'll know a lot about history, dates and not dates, this and that. Whereas in the UK, I think that is less common. I mean, you still get people who know loads of stuff about the specific materials that they've studied, but it's more the education system in the UK is more developed to get people into jobs. That's why there's a lot of extracurricular activities as well in school. Here, extracurricular activities are not very common. With that, I mean sport as well. Sport is not a big thing here, to the detriment of the system here. I think it's a bad thing about it. And also work experience. I don't think any kids do work experience. Maybe it's changing now, Maybe it's changing in the last few years, but going back to 20 years ago when my wife did school here, and work experience, that's when you get a job. So it's that's a big difference. Difference number 6 or 7. Don't know what I've lost count. I went to school in the UK. No, I'm joking. The cost of schooling here. Well, obviously it's free. Schooling is free here, as it is in the UK. The only difference is, I would say, university is not free. And I'm not sure if it is in the UK. I think I was one of the last ones who got free university. Well, it wasn't free. Obviously, someone pays for it. Free is a big word, isn't it? But I was one of the last years, so I was born in 79, who got free university education, or the government paid for it. My sister, who's a couple of years younger than me, she went to uni a couple of years after me, and she had to pay for it or get a loan out for it. In Italy, that's never existed. Free university education has never existed, and it can be quite expensive. I think my wife got a degree. I think she paid maybe €10,000 a year for a 4-year course, so that's 50,000 euros. It's expensive. University is expensive. Another thing that's different is that in Italy there's no school uniform. So even though it's more strict and formal, it's less formal in a way because there's no school uniform. Never has been, there never was, never in. It's basically no school uniform day every day in Italy, which I think is a big difference. I mean, well, they're all big differences, aren't they? So to sum it up, in general, I think the school here in Italy is quite hierarchical. It's a lot of respect is given to teachers. You address them not in the normal tu form. Anyone who knows a little bit about Italian knows that there's a third person polite form. Teachers are addressed in that way. And it's more formal, and it gives you a stronger, I would say, knowledge-based background about what you're actually studying. Whereas in the UK, it's a lot more informal. Out-the-box thinking is appreciated, and it's more structured towards the working environment. Okay, to wrap things up, on the beautiful banks of the River Po here, I've made a video about the River Po, I'll link it here. To sum things up, obviously both schooling systems give you a great start in life. Whether you've done school in Italy or the UK, there's differences like I've explained, but they give you a great start in life. The main difference is, in Italy you're probably more a jack of all trades, master of none. You learn loads about loads of things, loads of memory, loads of learning, which is probably a reflection of the Italian economy, because the Italian economy is based around small, medium-sized companies. So the schooling system is really a mirror of what the economy is. In the UK, more out-the-box thinking, more informal. It puts you on a great stead to land yourself a job in a big multinational company. The choice is yours. Which one's better? What would you prefer? Small, medium company or a large multinational corporation? Let me know in the comments what you think. That's my take on it. I'd like you to like and subscribe. I'd like to ask you even. I can't speak. To like and subscribe to this channel if you want to know more about Italy. I'll put a video here about differences between the UK and Italy. Live in them. And ciao for now.